Hey there, folks. So, the last few episodes, we've gone through and set up the more complex needs portion for the game, setting up the need for things like fats, proteins, vitamins, carbohydrates, stuff like that. I'm still trying to work out how I want to handle calories. So, we're going to take a minor sidestep for this episode, and we're actually going to go through and start expanding our new game configuration a little further. However, one of the very first things I want to cover is I know for a little while now I was dealing with an issue where the player's interaction trigger was causing the overlap event for the heat sources and that to be firing off early. I have actually fixed that, and that's actually what's happened here. We can see the collision cylinder, that is your capsule component around the character, is what's actually triggered this. And it was really simple to do, actually. I was a little surprised it took me this long. I just excluded a sphere component. So all we've got here is, and I've carried this over to all of the other cases where this was happening. We're checking that we do have a valid cast to a TF character class, and we're checking that the other component's class isn't a sphere component. And if that's the case, then we're registering it as the pickup. And the reason being is, we'll just hop out of the plane editor here quickly, and I'll open up the third person blueprint. Oh, now it takes forever. And opens up on the other screen again. So we'll zoom out, and you can see this was the interaction trigger that was causing that to fire off. Right now, just because I need to go through and clean up, when I did a rename, or I fixed my spelling mistake on the interaction trigger, it's actually created two. Just need to figure out what I need to do to get rid of this one. But that's beside the point. So what's happening is we're excluding this sphere collider. We could go through and add tags to it as well if you wanted, and you could exclude it that way. But what's actually being checked there, and in this case what's causing it to fire off, is this capsule component, which is pretty much what I wanted anyways. So you could always go and have it, okay, was it the skeletal mesh, because that gives you the ability to you could sneak in a little sooner or take a little longer depending on your character mesh. So, but that fixed that issue. But as I said, what I wanted to work on in this episode was going through and expanding our new game configuration. Right now, the way that is done, let me clean this up. I don't actually need all these files open anymore. Is currently we've got these set within the game instance. We have a head bob and a third person variable. What I want to actually do now, because we're expanding this to include a bunch of other items, we're going to create a new data type. So to do that, go into content browser, C++ classes or project, public, right click, new C++ class. We're going to select the none empty class, and then just pick your folder location and select data types. And the reason being, as I mentioned when we set this up last time, is there is no data type folder present because it's not something that's you can't inherit from it. So and this is going to be a struct, so it's going to be f game configuration used by another class. Oh, I did actually set that up. When did I set that up? Am I just having a complete brain fart here? Okay. I am just having a complete brain fart. I forgot we already did this. So that makes things a little easier. So what we're going to do actually is we're going to just disregard all of this. And again, this is something that you may stumble across in your own development. You do some work a little while ago and you completely forget you've done it. And you go to do it again and, oh, I've already done it. So because we already have that struct in place, we're just going to actually close out of the editor. I can get rid of the game config source file. We don't need that. So looking over how I did this, I do actually want to make some changes here. Blueprint read only. We actually want that to be blueprint read write. And the reason being is I want to actually create this struct within our new game UI instead of passing all of this off to the game instance individually. So I'm going to copy this over. And then what we want to do here is add a bool be enable complex needs equals true. I want that on by default. So I'm just trying to think if there's anything else we want to add. Well, for right now, no. So now that we've added that, what we're going to do is go over to our game instance because we do need to actually add these these functions in. So I'm going to add blueprint callable bool get complex needs enabled. That's a const. So we want this one also to be blueprint pure. Now, between episodes, I actually have gone through, I've cleaned up a lot of the functions that I could make blueprint pure. I added those in, and I went through and I also added in all those tooltips that I was missing. So, and then we also want, copy that, void set, void set complex needs enabled. Const bool reference be enabled. Now on top of that, I also want to add in, and I'm actually going to put this up at the top here. F game configuration get game configuration. So that's the thing. This F game configuration, set game configuration, I don't believe we were using that. So this is also going to be a const. So go through, just create these instances. So these are all going to be very simple. We're going to just go game config data is going to be returned here. And this is going to be game config data dot enable complex needs equals be enabled. And this is going to be return dot be enable complex needs. So this is going to be a pretty short episode in comparison, just because I don't want to cover like multiple different topics in this video. So, but that's the basics of what we're doing here. So we're going to launch into the editor quickly and see how long this takes to build, because we did make some header changes to the game instance. Yeah, this looks like it's going to take a while. So I'm going to pause the recording and I'll be back once this is in the editor. Alright folks, so we're back in the editor now. So let us start work a bit on our UI. Where did I start that out? That is in our... Yeah, okay. So just wanted to figure I had actually put that in the project. I wasn't sure if that was in the project or in the third person template where we've got some other UI elements. So we're going to go into our main menu here. I'm going to take a look. Am I creating a... No, we're setting the head bob and the third person. So first thing we're going to do is right click game configuration, make game configuration. So this is what we're going to be doing going forward. And to get around that, what we are going to do is set game configuration. We're going to call this function. Get rid of these two. Move this down. Pass that in there. Actually, we can get rid of these three because that's part of the game configuration as well. So pass that one in there. Head bob enabled goes up here. Third person enabled goes in here. And now we need to define our complex need setup. So we're going to go in here. And this one's going to be pretty easy to do. Where is our head bob? Border, grid panel. That's this one here. So right now our grid is 1, 2, 3 items. So we need to expand the grid. Easy enough. We add another row. If we just set these all to 0, I believe it, yep. And that adds dynamic. So if we add more rows as we go in, and content will get expanded with that. But part of this is also limited by our size of this panel. So if we go up, you can see that'll expand up as we go. Let us set that to, what are we changing here? That's our Y. Let's set that to 400. And then we can go our Y position minus 200, so it's still centered. So the next thing we want to do is add another text element. And that is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, row 3. Row span is 1. And we want that text to be enable complex needs. Okay, well, first of all, let's get our font the same. Copy that. Paste that. It's still not quite wide enough. So easy enough, we just go through and widen our box. Let's change that to 600. And you'll notice as I go through, I tend to do things in larger values. Want to change this down. Those buttons are getting pretty big, so let's put that to 0.1. No, 0.15. There we go. I tend to use round, like a whole number values where possible, so things like 300, 600, 400. It keeps things easy when it comes to doing math. Now, obviously, you don't have to do that. It's going to be down to your own personal preference. But okay, so now we want to add a checkbox into this grid panel, and that is going to be row 3, column 1. And what we're going to do there is, first of all, name that complex needs. Let me rename that, please. Complex needs. And let's copy the middle. Okay. Middle. And then we just go back to our graph and go complex needs. Is checked and pass that in here. Now that starts off sorts out getting the configuration in place, which is what I wanted to do first because we need that for what we're going to do at a code level. So now we've done that. Yet again, we're going to drop out of the drop out of the editor, back into Visual Studio. And the reason being for that is within our player character, base classes here, within our player character and our begin play function, we currently have this, which is we're casting to the game instance and we're pulling out one Boolean. Well, that's why we added in the get game configuration. So I want to copy F game configuration. We're going to throw this up here. Game config. And let's do this, get game configuration. So now what we've done is we're taking that saved information, if I could spell properly here, and we're pulling that all out in one go. And then that way we don't have to do multiple casts, things like that, because casts are inefficient, especially if you're doing them in large numbers. Now we have that. We're going to go be third person enabled equals game config. No, that's not pointer. Third person enabled. And then we have, as part of our constructor, we actually set up that we were mandating, complex need was always set. Well, I do want to change that. I wanted to make this a configurable value. So we're going to get this, copy that line there, and we're just going to throw that down here. And this is going to be game config, if I could spell, enable complex needs. So now that we've got that set up, I want to throw a couple breakpoints in here, and then we're going to go test all of this. So what we're going to do is in our stat line component, it's collapsed, that's why I can't find it. We are going to throw a breakpoint just inside here in our tick stats, because this is where we are ticking our complex needs. So if this is set to true, we're going to hit this. If it's not, we're not going to hit it. So I'm going to launch back into the editor quickly. This shouldn't take long to compile at all, because it's all based on the source file changes, not the header file changes. So let me drag that over. Not we're going to see it for long. So, and then as we had to do in the past to test, what we actually need to do is in our content browser, go through to our persistent level, which is the ground level that we have for, well, not really the ground level, it's the holding container for all of our additional levels that we're going to be working with. So all right, so we're in there. We'll just take a look. You can see we have our persistent main menu and our dev map 1. So we're going to hit play here. Now, this is because it starts off enabled. So we can just actually remove that breakpoint for now. Wait for that to load up. We'll go back in and throw it back in, because now that player character that's spawned by default has been deleted. So we're going to go to our new game. You can see we now have our day length, third person, head bob, complex needs. We're going to enable. Actually, no, we're going to disable that, and we're going to set it to a 30-minute day. We're going to click start. Now this is happening because we hadn't loaded up the main menu, the dev map beforehand. But what is going on there? I'll have to look into that one. But there, so we did not have our complex needs trigger. So now we'll try it again the other way. Again, actually that should only tick once. Yeah. So new game, we're going to enable complex needs. I'm going to set it to a 30-minute day length, and we'll just start. And you can see it ticked right away. I'm going to hit continue, it's ticked again, so just unpause that, and then we're going to go to our character. Stats, and then complex and calories. So you can see here things are slowly burning down. And they are going through, and our complex needs are ticking. So that is pretty much all I wanted to cover this episode, just because, like I said, I'm still working on figuring out how I want to do the calories, because that is going to be a little more involved, because you have to take into consideration things like, are you sprinting, are you hot, are you cold, and things like that. And I want to get at least a basic framework laid out the first time I do it, because then that way it's a little easier to expand and adapt as you need to, which is something I would recommend. If you've got a system you're not 100% sure on, try to plan it out as much as you can beforehand. But as always, folks, thank you for watching. If there's any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. I respond to every comment that I get as quickly as I can. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.